All right, it's 29 minutes past 9. We are ready to start the day's proceedings. Please make sure that your cell phones, your devices are on silent or off. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chancellor.
Morning, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Today's witness is Mr. Len John.
Good morning, Mr. John.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Will you be swearing or affirming?
Swearing, Commissioner.
Do you swear that the evidence you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John. I just want to check that you have the same files as me in front of you. So there should be a smallish file called witness statement.
That's correct.
And then a bundle of exhibits that runs to about 1,430 pages.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Perhaps not that we do it consistently, Mr. Chaskalson. If perhaps you could just indicate for the record that we have stepped off, even if just for a while, the IDEC stream, and that we are starting on a new stream and you identify it.
Yes. Chair, we have indeed stepped off the IDAC stream. We'll step back on briefly on Friday. But Mr. John is going to be the first witness in relation to a topic dealing with gangs in the Greater Durban area and the possible police involvement in the activities of these gangs.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. John, we need you first to confirm the correctness of your statement, but before we do so, I know from our discussions that you need to correct certain of the figures that appear on page 27 and page 28.
That's correct, Commissioner.
And can you just take us through the correction, starting with 66.3.1? The figure there currently says 2,053,650 rands. What should that be corrected to?
Okay, it should be corrected to 2,343,050 rand. So 2034,350 -2 zeros.
2034,350.
That's correct.
Then over the page on page 28, the aggregate figure at paragraph 66.4.
Yes.
What should that be corrected to?
The corrected figure is 24,14150.
And the figure at
Sorry,
page...
please say that again.
24,14150.
And the figure at page, in the next paragraph, 66.5.
The figure should read 27,12612. 27,12612.
And that, yes, subject to those corrections, do you confirm that the contents of your statement are true and correct?
That's correct, Commissioner.
Then can we start at page 1 of your statement, and can you describe to the Commission, as you do in the statement, who you are, what your job is, and how you came to be called into this Commission?
Okay, Commissioner, my full name is Len John. I am an adult male and Deputy Director in the investigation that is attached to the Independent Police Investigative Directorate in KwaZulu-Natal, situated at the Marine Building, 22 Dorothy Nembe Street, Durban. The contents of the statement are within my personal knowledge, save where the contrary appears from the context hereof, and are to the best of my belief both true and correct. Where I rely on information from other persons, I do indicate or the context so shows. Where I make reference to legal prescripts and conclusions therefrom, I do so based on my understanding of the legal prescripts, in particular the Independent Police Investigative Directorate Act 1 of 2011, the IPID Act, the South African Police Service Act, Act 68 of 1995, the SAPS Act, and the Criminal Procedure Act, Act 51 of 1997, the CPA Act.
Sorry, Mr. John, before we go further, if you go to page 36 of that same file, there is a document, it's your curriculum vitae. Will you confirm that it's correct, and is there anything that you would want to highlight in relation to that curriculum vitae? I mean, you don't have to highlight anything. It speaks for itself.
Yes, it speaks for itself. That's correct.
Then at page 2, paragraph 6, you speak about certain task teams. Can you just describe what they are and how they came under your attention?
Okay, the three task teams that have been identified has been implemented to combat crimes committed within the illicit drug industry, the cash in transit heist, and the taxi industry. And these task teams, the one task team was under Captain Dina Dayalan Govender, who is known as Dina. The second task team was Colonel Kalashwayo, and the third task team was under Captain Pedro Rodriguez. But Pedro Rodriguez worked interchangeable with the three task teams. These task teams came under our focus when we started to investigate the number of police killings under the hands of the police, which is investigated under the mandate of IPID, Section 28(1)B, which indicates that any deaths, IPID must investigate any deaths as a result of police action.
And
You said police killings, you meant killings by police?
Yes, police deaths as a result of police action.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And do you know how these task teams are constituted?
In fact, there's a very gray area on how these task teams are constituted. In the investigation, we've identified that the task team that was under the command of Colonel Kalashwayo was formed under the Provincial Commissioner, that is Lieutenant General Mkonazi. The task team that was under Dina Govender, Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender, there's a gray area because he falls under the DPCI. And when his commander was contacted, Brigadier Newswa indicated that the task team doesn't fall under him. So actually the task team, Brigadier Newswa indicated that the task team fell under General Major General Sonoa or Lieutenant General Mkonazi. So I think the Lieutenant General Mkonazi will be able to give further details on how the task team was formed. Because on every shooting that took place with the task teams, majority of the shootings, Lieutenant General Mkonazi used to make press statements and address a press regarding those shootings. Our understanding is that the task teams fell under Lieutenant General Mkonazi.
And then the third one?
The third task team, as I indicated, that Pedro Rodriguez worked at the provincial level, and that task team would have fallen under Lieutenant General Mkonazi.
Now, you mention in paragraph 10 that your involvement flows from the fact that there's evidence that the task team regularly exceeds the bounds of Section 49 of the Criminal Procedure Act and seems to be involved in extrajudicial killing. We will get to that in more detail later. But I do want to emphasize the point in paragraph 11 that the Commission is not here to investigate extrajudicial killing. Maybe there should be a commission to investigate extrajudicial killing. That's not our terms of reference, but you explain in paragraph 11 why your investigations into the task teams are relevant to our terms of reference. And can you maybe read paragraph 11 and paragraph 12 into the record?
Okay. I have been advised that the terms of reference of the Commission do not extend to the investigation of extrajudicial killings by members of the SAPS per se. However, in an environment where a task team of the SAPS is apparently able to escape accountability despite evidence of its repeated involvement in extrajudicial killings of alleged criminals, there is an heightened risk that criminal syndicates will seek corruptly to influence a task team to kill their rivals. There is clear evidence that this risk has materialized in KwaZulu-Natal. By way of illustration, I'll refer in some detail below to the killings of Mr. Bevan Loftus. As I show below, there is at least a prima facie case that at the instance of Mr. Clive Naika, the alleged leader of a drug and towing gang, Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender deployed the task teams to kill Mr. Bevan Loftus, who was the alleged leader of a rival drug and towing tow truck gang.
And can you explain to the Commission how drugs and tow trucks come to be linked?
Okay, Commissioner, it's a known factor that certain police officers at station levels are linked with certain tow truck businesses. We also have identified that with the tow trucks, you'll get police officers who will give jobs to certain tow trucks in order to get you can call it a payment from them, more like an incentive. You call a tow truck and they will pay you like a commission. So police are very much involved in the tow truck industry. They have their friends in the tow truck. They know the tow truck that they can communicate with. And because of that, we see that the tow truck industry has a free rein when it comes to crime, because we believe that the tow truck industry, the tow trucks are used for transporting drugs. I'm not saying that all the tow trucks, but in many of the cases, the tow truck industry and the drug industry go together, hand in hand. we see the tow trucks are being used to transport drugs and to supply drugs. And the reason they do that is because they have police friends that don't even stop them and search them. Even at roadblocks, they have a free passage to go through. So that is the conclusion that we come to, is that the tow truck industry and the drug industry are actually related to each other.
Except perhaps for what may be known amongst the police through conversations, have there been any arrests of tow truck drivers, tow truck owners?
In terms of?
Have there been, yeah.
Yes, there have been arrests, but those arrests are made by the police because we don't deal with tow truck drivers. Those arrests are made by police. We've also have known cases, and I've got it in my bundle, known cases of tow truck drivers who due to the taxi turf war, the tow truck turf war and the drug turf war were killed.
All right, thank you.
Mr. John, good morning. You
morning.
said police at station level give jobs or preference to tow trucks. Do you mean that when there's an accident, they are told that there's an accident scene and their preferred tow truck business people are then given a heads up to go to that scene? What exactly do you mean by police at station level give jobs to tow trucks or their friends in the trucking business?
Commissioner, that's exactly what you indicated, is that when there's an accident in a station area, certain policemen have their preference on who to call, which tow truck to call to the scene. And then you get another group of policemen from the same station, and they have their own preference on who to call to the scene, because they're getting paid from those tow truck drivers.
And I'm assuming if you're not their preferred tow truck, they remove you from the scene so that their preferred friends in the industry become part of that scene and they move
That's correct.
accident-involved vehicles from the scene.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Mr. John, you say that Mr. Naika is involved or is the leader of an alleged drug and tow trucking gang, and the same about Mr. Loftus. Do they have names, these gangs? I don't remember in your statement coming upon a
I've
name.
got the names of the towing companies that they run.
Yeah. You speak of gangs. Are you saying the tow trucking company under which they operate is also the gang?
That's the, well, I would say it's a tow truck industry, but when you look at the drug turf war, it's related to a gang. So it's basically, we just know them as the towing truck, by the towing truck name.
Okay.
Commissioner, if I can assist there will be evidence later as to the names of these gangs.
Okay, thank you.
I can put on record at this stage that the gangs are the cartel, that one of them is called the cartel, and the other is called the Hollywood gang. Mr. John, if we go to page 4, we've covered some of this material already. You refer to your CV, and you speak briefly about your history in IPID and your role in IPID. Maybe if I can ask you to pick up from paragraph 15. And maybe explain the difference between the Independence Complaint Directorate and IPID.
Okay. I joined the Independent Complaints Directorate from the 16th of September 2002 as the Assistant Manager in Investigations, Independent Complaints Directorate in KwaZulu-Natal. I have been with the Directorate from then till 31st of March 2012. Then the Independent Complaints Directorate changed to the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. So it was basically a name change and the change of the mandate of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate under the Independent Police Investigative Directorate Act 1 of 2011. So I've been in the Independent Police Investigative Directorate to my current date, and I am the Deputy Director of Investigations, and I report to the provincial head, of the office, who is Ms. Charmaine van der Sant.
And you set out in paragraph 16 the mandate of IPID. Can you take us through paragraph 16 to 18, where you set out the mandate of IPID and what your specific responsibilities are?
Okay, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate receives its mandate under Section 28 of the IPID Act, Act 1 of 2011, which sets out the type of matters to be investigated by the Directorate. Subsection 1 provides the Directorate must investigate inter alia any deaths in police custody. Section 28(1)(b) is any deaths as a result of police action. Section 28(1)(c), any complaint relating to the discharge of an official firearm by any police officer. Section 28(1)(f) is any complaint of torture or assault against a police officer in the execution of his or her duties. As the Deputy Director Investigations, I ensure that the members from the investigation component are well versed in the mandate of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate as contained in the IPID Act, Act 1 of 2011, the regulations and the standard operating procedures of the Directorate. I am required to provide guidance to investigators on a regular basis on the duties pertaining to inter alia, the investigation of complaints, attendance at crime scenes and the completion of crime scene reports, identifying, securing, safeguarding, collecting, packaging, and forwarding of exhibits to the relevant forensic science laboratories, analyzing evidence, compiling departmental recommendations, reports to the South African Police Service, and criminal recommendation reports to the National Prosecuting Authority, and the finalization and archiving of dockets.
If we move over to page 6, if we move over to page 6, you talk about the increase in extrajudicial killings, and can you take the Commission through paragraph 19? I don't think you need to read out the details of the table that follows, but maybe summarize it.
Okay. Since 2023, there has been a surge in extrajudicial killings, which IPID has noted with great concern. Between 1st of April 2023 and 31st of May 2026, IPID investigated over 300 cases, of which 77 cases involved the deaths of 149 people as a result of police action by the task team. Now, Commissioner, we dealt with over 300 cases, but I zoned in on the 77 cases, which is in the attached list. In this 77 cases, these shootings were committed by members of the task teams. And in this shooting, there were 149 people that were killed. Now, if one look at this, in these killings.
Director John, before you go to the table, just explain the concept of extrajudicial killings And how is it different from a situation where a police officer was defending himself or they came under attack? If there's any distinction at all.
Okay, Commissioner, we've identified through our investigation that in these killings, you'll get a shooting where 6 people are shot and killed. However, when you do an investigation at the crime scene, you find only 2 firearms. And the police, their modus operandi is that, or their explanation all the time is that the deceased shot first at them before they could shoot. Now, when we've investigated, as we investigated, we identified a few cases which actually contradict the version of the police. For example, you get a case where there are 9 people that are shot and you find only 3 firearms. Now, in the area that, in the KwaZulu-Natal area, especially your area like Inanda and KwaMashu, the criminals normally, when they go into hiding, they hijack a premises. When they hijack the premises, they will keep the owners of the premises in the house, and they will inform the owners that you are not to phone anyone or inform anyone that they are in the premises. And whilst police are looking for them, they stay in the premises. And if police get wind that they are at the premises, the police go and they just shoot everybody. Even the owners of the house are shot. Because police indicate that they came under fire and that is why they shot. And we've seen in some cases, or in majority of the shootings by task team, they don't have proper case numbers where they were looking for the suspects. In some cases, they cannot even give you the names of the deceased that they shot. So, with our investigation, we believe that the police are not doing proper investigation to arrest the suspects. We can look from the examples that we have that they go out to kill the person. That is why we indicate that it's extrajudicial killings.
And what is the significance of the number of firearms found at the scene? Twice you said that far fewer firearms would be found at the scene. Like you said, for example, 9 people are killed and 3 firearms are found. You gave another example.
Yes.
What's the significance of that?
Commissioner,
because even if there are 9 people, if there are 3 firearms, and if indeed those 3 firearms have been used or are being used, they may kill. So I'm not quite sure I follow the significance of the number.
Commissioner, in fact, with investigations, it shows that some of the, okay, if we say 3 firearms are used and there were 9 people, then 6 of them were unarmed. And when you do the scene, when you investigate at the scene, you would look at the 6 of them were in different places in the house.
But if you come under fire from where you are, and if you are not in the house yourself when you are shot at, you can't tell whether there are 9 people in there and there are only 3 firearms. So still, I'm not sure that you're answering my question.
I understand what the Commissioner is saying, but with the pattern that follows, in fact, in majority of our cases, there are fewer firearms found compared to the shooting, compared to the number of deceased that were on the scene. And in some of our cases, in fact, there is cases that are before the DPP's office for decision where we can prove that the deceased did not shoot at the police. However, the police have indicated that the deceased has shot at them. But we can prove with the reconstruction of the scene, we've proven that the deceased had not shot at the police.
All right, then.
Can I just follow up on your answer? The these cases, you've given us 149 people in 77 cases. Have any of these been finalized? How many of these cases have been finalized where police officers, in fact, were found guilty for those shootings following on your investigations?
Commissioner, in basically one of the cases which is before the court roll now, I'm not sure whether it's in my panel here, but one of the cases in my court roll, I'll give you the scenario, is that the police, and this was during the day, the police shot at 4 occupants of a vehicle at...
Let me interrupt you. I'm asking a simpler question, which is, of the 77 cases that you've referred to, or that you're speaking to in paragraph 19, how many of them have been finalized and the police found guilty?
No, nothing as yet, Commissioner.
They're still pending
still
matters.
pending.
All of them are still to be
Yes.
determined by court.
That's
All right,
right.
thank you.
Then from page 12, you detail the process that should be followed in the case of a police shooting. Paragraph 20, can you take the Commission through that?
Thank you. When a Section 28(1)B case, which is a death as a result of police action, is received by the Directorate, the supervisor of the group performing standby duties will engage the investigators to attend the crime scene. IPID is mandated under Section 24 of the IPID Act, Act 1 of 2011, to attend crime scenes. When IPID investigators arrive at the crime scene, they will take over the crime scene and together with the SAP's duty officer will conduct a walk through the crime scene without tampering or destroying any evidence. At times, the crime scene is already being attended by members of the local criminal record center. IPID investigators are mandated to ensure that exhibits are photographed, indexed, protected, preserved, packed, seized, and transported to the relevant forensic science laboratory. Investigators remain in the crime scene until the bodies of the deceased are collected by members of the medico-legal mortuaries. IPID investigators are tasked to attend postmortems for the collection of exhibits retrieved during the postmortems and to make notes pertaining to the cause of death. Investigators are mandated to retrieve and analyze postmortem reports and present as evidence in the criminal and departmental proceedings.
And then you discuss the challenges that you encounter as IPID. Can you take the Commission through paragraph 24?
Okay. The challenges presented to IPID investigators pertaining to crime scenes include the following. Some scenes are not attended immediately due to the distance the scenes are from the office. For example, scenes within a radius of 150 kilometers are attended on the same day. However, scenes outside the 150-kilometer radius are attended only on the day the postmortem will be conducted.
Sorry, you appeared to state this categorically, as it were, but I would imagine that what you mean is that generally, because otherwise it sounds rather mechanical. For example, if a scene that's 149 kilometers from your office can be attended on the same day, why is that not the case with a scene that's 151 kilometers from your office? If you see what I mean.
Commissioner,
So all I'm saying is perhaps you should say generally.
Generally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, the problems that we have when scenes are far away is that the station normally contacts us, like maybe they will contact us half an hour after they receive the report, or maybe even an hour after they receive the report. Now, for us to get to the scene, if it's going to take more than an hour or more than an hour and a half, it becomes difficult even for the police to be on the scene. But I did highlight it here in my... So some scenes are not attended due to the volatile area, and when members of the SAPS come under attack by the members of the public. These scenes are attended on the day of the postmortem. So if the scene is far away from our office, and we get information that the members are under attack because the community is attacking them, then we would request them to leave the scene, and we do a reconstruction when we do the postmortem. In some cases, SAPS officials deliberately delay the contacting of IPID officials, raising suspicion that they want to tamper with the crime scene, for example, by planting of weapons and primary residue on the deceased. At scenes where task teams are involved in the shooting, almost without exception, there are delays. We did identify this in our investigations, and through the and when reports are made, we did identify the task teams generally delay, and we have taken it up with the commanders of those task teams, but we still have that delay in reporting. IPID has identified that media personnel are regularly contacted prior to IPID officials being notified of killings. There are instances where IPID learns of SAPS killings through social media posted by journalists. So when you look at your Facebook page, you'll see a shooting that happened even in Inanda, which is not even 30 kilometers from the office. You learn of it via social media, and when you get there, you'll see a reporter on the scene. There have been instances where members involved in shootings where members of the public are killed, they leave the crime scene with the firearms before IPID attends the scene. And this prevents IPID from uplifting primary residue from the members and complicates the matters with respect to the inspection of the firearms. So we do have that instance where the shooters, they leave the crime scene, citing that their lives are in danger whilst they wait for IPID. So we do have a problem in that aspect.
Mr. John, what is the applicable protocol practically? So you have a scene, there's just been a shooting now. As between the SAPS and the IPID, what is the agreed rule of operation when that has happened?
Commissioner, the shooter has to remain on the scene because he is part of the crime scene, which means that we have to do a primary residue test on him. We have to inspect the firearm. We have to count the number of rounds that he has in his possession versus the number of rounds when he came on duty. So when the member is not there, it's very difficult for us to deal with that aspect of investigation.
And who is responsible for calling IPID, informing IPID of the incident?
The first respondent that comes to the crime scene, once the respondent knows that the matter belongs to IPID, he's supposed to have contacted IPID. Section 29 of the IPID Act indicates that any member, the station commander or any member must notify IPID immediately of a case that involves IPID or falls under the mandate of IPID.
Okay. What I'm trying to understand is whether the people that must make the call, that are required and are obliged to make the call to IPID, is it the people at the scene who caused the sin, or is it their commander to whom they report that there's now been this incident? I'm just trying to understand the practical, how this plays out practically.
Okay, practically what happens, Commissioner, is that the uniform members who attend the crime scene contact the detective on call. So the detective on call also, at the same instance, contact the duty officer. So when the duty officer and the detective on call come to the scene, then they are the ones that contact us. Now, the delay is that if the duty detective and the duty officer delays in getting to the crime scene, we are already delayed in getting to the crime scene because we only get the report when they get to the crime scene. However, the members who work at maybe they are the members that work in the shift who attend the crime scene, they're actually supposed to be the people calling us also. Because it says that when they become aware that that crime falls within the mandate of IPID, they're also supposed to call us. When they call the duty officer, they're supposed to call IPID also. Sometimes you get to the crime scene, the LCRC is there before us because they call the LCRC, they call all the other role players besides calling IPID to the scene.
And the IPID contact, whether it's a number or a person, do you say every police officer has it as a matter of course? So if I'm at the scene where there's a shooting and I'm part of that scene, are you saying that every member on that scene who was part of that incident would know who to call at IPID?
Sure, in majority of the stations, they do have our standby number. We have a dedicated standby number, which are members on standby have their cell number. However, the station can communicate with the radio control, and radio control is aware of which IPID official is on standby. So there is that a number that they can call. They can call the radio control and inform the radio control that there is a shooting and we need you to get all of IPID. So radio control have our standby numbers.
Thank you.
You referred to two categories of police officers. I think you said what? Duty investigator or what?
You get the detective on standby.
Detective on standby, and I think you mentioned...
And you get the duty officer on standby.
Duty officer.
Yes.
You said when those two arrive at the scene, they are supposed to then call IPID. Why must they first get to the scene?
No, Commissioner, I just want to rephrase.
Okay.
In fact, they call us when they get to the scene. However, they are not the ones that's supposed to have called us.
But what I'm saying is, why must they first get to the scene instead of calling you immediately when they themselves get the call?
Yes, they're supposed to do that.
Okay, all right. Do you know why it doesn't happen? Why? Because you say they call you when they get to the scene, but they are supposed to call you when they get the call. Do you know why they only call when they get to the scene?
Commissioner, I believe they get to the scene to ascertain what happened at the scene before they call IPID. But that should not be the case. They should, when they get called and they are informed that there is a shooting by the police, and this is an IPID-related matter, they're supposed to immediately call radio control and inform radio control to call us.
Yes, because I would imagine with such matters, you don't want to lose time. You want to get to the scene immediately to start collecting evidence.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Just following up from that, Mr. John, as I read 29(1) of the Act, well, let me read it out. The station commander or any member of the SAPS or municipal police service must, A, immediately after becoming aware, notify the directorate of any matters referred to in 28(1)A to F, and 28(1)B is a death as a result of police action.
That's correct.
So it's a duty that rests on any member of the SAPS, including the shooter, him or herself.
That's correct.
And then what we see in Chapter 9 of the IPID Act, Section 33(3), there is actually an offence created. Any police officer who fails to comply with Section 29 is guilty of an offence.
Yes.
Are you aware of any prosecutions of that offence in Section 33(3) of the IPID Act?
We have opened cases under Section 33 contravention of Section 29 of the IPID Act. Chair, in many of those cases, the SPP declined to prosecute, citing that the act was a new act at that time in 2012, 2013, 2014. They cited that we have to produce evidence that the member is aware of the act, because we cannot charge if the member was not aware of the act. So that was many of our cases were declined to prosecute because of that.
But, I mean, in the context about which we're talking, these task teams, where your evidence is we're dealing with a repeated problem here. Have you raised this issue? I mean, I presume that the commanders of these task teams are by now well aware of Section 29 of the Act.
Yeah.
And have you pursued attempts to prosecute any commanders who repeatedly contravene Section 29?
We have cases which we are investigating with the actual shooting in the list that I've provided. We have some of those cases where we were not called to the scene, totally not called to the scene, and only came to know about the scene a day later. So we have open cases, and those cases are being investigated together with the shooting.
And from my understanding of your answer to Commissioner Baloyi, none of those cases have yet been finalized.
None has finalized in court as yet.
If we move then to the next topic, which is starts at the foot of page 14, you're detailing the experiences that you encounter in relation to the cash in transit task team. Maybe if you can take the Commission through what you say in paragraph 25.
Okay, in the majority of shootings involving alleged CIT suspects, the task team under Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender has been involved. The facts of this case bear a striking similarity. The consistent pattern is the following. Task team members indicate that they receive information from SAP's crime intelligence pertaining to the whereabouts of suspects involved in CITs. The information received is generally not verified with reference to any other investigation, case docket, or investigating officers or detectives in charge of such cases. The commander of the task team then plans an operation on the information allegedly received. These operations are frequently planned to be undertaken between 11 o'clock, 2300 hours to 300 hours in the morning, a time where there is a reduced likelihood of witnesses being present to observe any wrongdoing by the members of the SAPS. The members on most of these operations are wearing civilian clothing and or balaclavas or face masks without any SAPS insignia. Despite the fact that they have apparently chosen deliberately not to wear uniform that would identify themselves as police officers, the members always claim that when they approach the premises of the alleged CIT suspects, they introduce themselves in an audible manner, indicating that they are police officers. They then invade the premises of the alleged CIT suspects. They allege that they come under fire from the suspects and they return fire in self-defense. In most of the crime scenes where alleged CIT suspects are shot and killed by police, all suspects and occupants present when the shooting takes place are killed by the task team, leaving no witness to the operation other than the members of the task team themselves. No high-caliber firearms or rifles, explosives, components to manufacture explosives, or money has been found at any of the CIT shootings. IPID usually find only homemade firearms, pistols, or revolvers, which are allegedly pointed out by the police officers implicated in the shooting of the suspects. The SAPS commander in charge of the task teams is frequently unable to provide the names or identities of the suspects who are killed. Very rarely are they able to provide the SAPS case number in which the suspects or deceased are allegedly implicated in the CIT robberies, leaving a suspicion that the so-called suspects killed during these operations may not have even been involved in any CIT robberies.
Now, I have two follow-up questions. The first is, these are all general statements. Has IPID done any statistical analysis? Can you, is there anywhere where we can get detail in relation to these general statements?
Chair, in these cases that we are investigating, I indicated the 77 cases that we're investigating. In majority of the cases, you'll not have the name of the deceased. When you go to the crime scene, the commander of the task team that is present will indicate to you that the deceased are unknown. In some of the cases, when we get case numbers which are provided, we go to the stations, relevant stations, and we pick up the dockets. When we pick up the dockets, you will not even find the name of the deceased in those dockets.
No, I understand the proposition that you're putting forward there, but has IPID, as it were, done any statistical gathering of information so that you can describe, just at a simple level, how many of those 77 cases that we see in your table were there deceased people who were not linked to any dockets cited by the team?
In fact, in all those 77 cases, the 77 cases, the dockets that we peruse cannot link the deceased to the initial cases that were opened.
In every single one?
In every single case.
You're telling the Commission that in every one of these 77 cases?
Because in majority of the cases, they are unknown. Deceased are unknown. So if they are unknown, how do you link them to a shooting? If they are known, then in fact...
No, I understand if they're unknown, they can't be linked
Yes.
to any docket.
Yeah.
But presumably they are identified at a later stage.
When they're identified at the later stage, the names are not in the docket. When we pick up the docket from the station, the names are not in the docket.
Do you mean in the station of origin where the case was opened?
Yes.
They are not identified as suspects in that case?
Yes. In some of the cases, we interviewed investigating officers. And investigating officers indicated, I did not task anyone to go looking for a suspect because I don't know the suspect. So in the Commissioner, when they get this information about suspects in cash in transit or in cases of murder and so forth, they don't do a proper investigation to link those suspects to the case. And in the operations, they don't involve the investigating officer who is tasked with the docket. They just get the information, they plan an operation, and they go, and then the shooting takes place.
Can I just understand what it is you're saying is wrong? We, for example, have had evidence to do with drug busts, right? And in what we have had, at least according to the evidence tendered, there is no first opportunity to identify a suspect, open a docket, have a name, investigate them. The story is we got a tip-off from crime intelligence officer that there is these drugs at this particular place, and we went and did a bust. So there's obviously no docket at that point when the bust is done, and there's no case number, there's no known suspects.
That's correct.
Is what you're saying that in respect of these cash in transit or these task team cases, that it is wrong that they act on a tip-off when there's no docket, there's no case number, there's no known suspect in advance? Is that the criticism? Is that a criticism, and is that if it is that a criticism that you are raising?
No, Commissioner, in these cases, there are dockets. There are dockets in these cases that are opened prior to them getting the information. Because the cash in transit take place maybe a day earlier. And then they receive, so there is a docket open on that date when the cash in transit take place. There is an investigating officer that is identified to investigate that case. The information that comes to the task team is not provided to the investigating officer, or there's no communication with that investigating officer to say that we've received information that there are cash in transit suspects that's hiding at a particular place. For the investigating officer now to investigate that matter, they simply go out there, the task team themselves, leaving the investigating officer out, because at none of the scenes that our members went to, that they found the investigating officer. So the task team, they go themselves out to the place where they receive the information, and then the shooting take place. So in all these cases, there were dockets open prior to the task team going to the premises to arrest suspects.
Okay.
So from what you are saying, it seems to me that the task team members identify a particular cash in transit heist randomly. If they happen to know that there was a cash in transit 2 days ago, they will just identify that or any other.
It looks like that.
We are based on what you say, which is that there is then no connection whatsoever between the people that have been killed and that particular cash in transit.
Yes, Commissioner, because as I indicated, that when you get to the scene, and when my investigators on the scene wants the names of the deceased persons, the deceased are unknown. So they cannot link the deceased to the actual cash in transit.
But are you able to say that? I posited this based on my understanding of what you say, but then I have a question, which is this. Are you able to say the deceased have nothing to do with that cash in transit, if at that stage not even the investigator or the detective knows who the culprits are?
Commissioner, I wouldn't say that they're not involved in the cash in transit.
Yes.
There must be an investigation to link them to that cash in transit.
But what point then are you making by saying when you go to the dockets, you are not able to link the deceased with that docket? What point are you making?
Well, the cases that we have looked at,
Yes.
we cannot do any linkage of those suspects to the cash in transit.
And what linkage do you expect at that stage? If the culprits are not known, if even the investigator or the detective does not know who the culprits are, what link would you be expecting to make?
Well, normally the cash in transit, well, I won't say normally, majority of the cash in transits, it's on social media. There are video recordings of it, those cash in transits. You could see some of the criminals that are there carrying powered rifles and so forth. You would use that to identify whether these are the suspects in those cases. And only the investigating officer has the docket and can assist in doing that linkage.
And would you say that that's the situation or the case in all 77 that we're talking about here?
No, not in, actually in all 77, as I said, Commissioner, there is no reference to suspects, the suspects' names in the docket. So how do the task team link those unknown people to a cash in transit? There's no linkage there. And even if they give us names, you cannot find the names in the cash in transit case. Because in majority of the shootings where there's cash in transit, in majority of the shootings, you'll have a cash in transit that occurs maybe 2 days ago. And then you get a shooting where police go looking for alleged cash in transit suspects and kill them. So there was no proper investigation done to actually link these alleged suspects to the case.
Would the answer lie in the docket, though? Because if at that early stage the culprits are not known, would the answer lie in the docket? I would imagine it shouldn't, and it cannot.
It cannot.
Does the answer not lie in on what basis are the police saying these are the people according to the information or the intelligence we got? Doesn't the answer lie there? Either there is an answer there or there isn't, but not so much in the docket. Because
yes.
I have difficulty understanding this about not finding anything in the docket.
There's basically nothing in the docket.
Yes.
There's nothing in the docket.
Exactly my point.
Yeah. If they are getting the information from crime intelligence, allegedly from crime intelligence, they're getting the information, and they act on the information without conducting a proper investigation.
And I'm not even suggesting that there is an answer. I'm saying it may or may not lie there. That is the answer. What information did they get, and what is it in that information that led them to the people that they killed? Yeah. But not so much the docket.
Oh, well, Commissioner, the information they get is that there is a particular premises, and mostly it happens in a informal settlement.
Yes.
They will indicate that there's a particular house where there is suspected to be the suspects that were involved in the cash in transit.
Yeah.
So they get the information during the day, but they plan the operation to go through the night. And living in KZN, it's very difficult to go do operations at night, especially in the informal settlements, because it's dangerous to do these operations. So when they go to those premises, they allege that they come under fire, and they fired back. Now, if you see at the cash in transits that take place, we know that these cash in transit robbers are highly trained. They are highly trained. They're not these normal robbers that you will get on the street. They are highly trained, and they use high caliber firearms. But when you go and you look at the deceased that is lying down in that informal settlement, you're finding a homemade firearm, you're finding a revolver or a pistol, and you can see that these deceased that are there were not even ready to go anyway. They in the pajamas or underpants, and they're sleeping. So they were not expecting for police to come in order to shoot at the police. And it's surprising that police can go and say that they're going to look for cash in transit robbers, knowing fully well that they have high-powered firearms, and they will go all out to shoot because they are linked to cash in transit, that you go and you knock on the door and you say, we're police. It's surprising that they will do that. Because you know, as soon as you knock at the door at cash in transit robbers, you're going to come under fire with high caliber firearms because they are cash in transit suspects. So that is why I'm saying the suspects that are killed, there is no linkage that they are the ones involved in cash in transit.
Thank you. Yeah, I hear you on the modus operandi. My issue, and you've responded, so I'm not asking for any further response. My issue just related to the point you were making about the dockets.
Yeah.
Dockets,
Okay.
the information or lack of it in the dockets. You've already responded, and yeah, I'll leave it there.
And Commissioner, the other aspect is that the dockets are closed almost immediately. Once a person is killed, the docket gets closed, the cash in transit docket, because they link that deceased as a suspect in the docket without any other investigation. Not looking at the firearms that they used, whether those firearms are linked at the cash in transit, or maybe placing their cell phone at the scene of the cash in transit. That docket is immediately closed. So there's no further investigation done on that cash in transit docket that has been
closes-
opened.
But that's strange. Who closes the docket?
The station, even the task team themselves, they write the name of the deceased on the docket, and the docket is closed.
I don't understand that. Not if no connection was made in terms of investigations, that the person who has been killed was indeed the person who had committed the cash in transit. I just don't follow that.
Well, based on the
There's a missing link in there.
yeah, based on the statements of the members of the task team that they went looking for suspects involved in the cash in transit. That case get closed.
Yeah, but I'll leave it at that. We are not inquiring after the extrajudicial killings. Yeah.
Can I just follow up on Mr. Chaskalson's question about statistics? Of the 77 cases that you say relate to task teams, what percentage or number of that relates to cash in transit? Because your statement focuses on cash in transits.
Okay, I can't give you that number. It's actually those 77 is cash in transit, drug-related, and murder and cases related to the taxi industry.
Yes, no, that's my understanding.
yes,
So my question is, has IPID not done the statistical analysis of the 77 cases? So much are cash in transit cases. And the next question that I would have asked, that I now assume you may not have an answer to in light of what you're saying, is what percentage of that cash in transit number is the majority of shootings that you say they involve Lieutenant Colonel Governor's task team? Because that's what you say at paragraph 25. You say the majority of shootings relate to his task team. So I wanted to know whether you've got that breakdown of numbers.
I don't have it, Commissioner, but we can supply it.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe while we're on this topic, just to illustrate what you've been saying to the Commission, can we discuss can you go to the Hibodine case that you talked to at paragraph 21? Because I think this falls into the category that we're just discussing.
Paragraph 44.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner, in this case, members of the Colonel Governor's task team were on duty on Saturday, the 2nd of March, 2024, and at about 1 o'clock, the members proceeded on an operation to arrest an alleged CIT suspect. Information was received from crime intelligence that the suspect was planning a CIT robberies in Eastern Cape. That is what Colonel Governor informed the IPID investigators, that the information they received was this suspect was planning to do a cash in transit in Eastern Cape. The suspect went into hiding in...
Sorry, can I just stop you at that point? What degree of information would be required before you were able to arrest someone for planning CIT robberies in the Eastern Cape?
Well, you have to do a proper investigation, like put surveillance on the person, apply for a court order to tap their phones, to listen into the conversations if you have that. You can't just get information that the person is planning to do cash in transit and then go to arrest him. You arresting him on what? There's no crime. He didn't commit any crime. He's only planning to do it. But you still have to show that he's planning to do it. Now, they received information that he was planning to commit cash in transit in Eastern Cape, and they rushed out to his premises.
So at that stage, at that early stage, when you are doing the surveillance, I would imagine you don't open a police case.
You can open an inquiry, Commissioner.
An inquiry?
Yes, a police inquiry.
Oh, okay.
And then you can, with the inquiry, you can apply for a court order. You can apply for a Section 205 with an inquiry. And then you can, from your inquiry, it will indicate whether he's part of a cash in transit group.
And can I ask, in this particular case, are you aware whether there was any inquiry opened, whether there was any docket opened?
Nothing.
Is it not fair to say that that information would have had to have been received in advance of the day of the operation? Because, I don't know if you're saying if they received information on the 2nd of March itself, and let's say at 12 midnight, are you saying even in those circumstances, they must first open an inquiry number before they go and operationalize? Does it not assume that there is proper advance information or intelligence that this person is at this place, they're planning to do this, and there's time to do surveillance and everything that you're describing and to get a CIN number?
Yes, Commissioner, what I'm indicating is that, firstly, there was no evidence to prove that he was involved in planning cash in transit. So what they're supposed to do is that when they receive that information, they're supposed to open an inquiry and then do the investigations from that inquiry, from the information that they received. And when they've done the investigation to prove that this suspect is part of the cash in transit syndicate and they can do proper linkages, then they can go to make an arrest. But what they did is that they received the information and they rushed off to go to arrest the person.
Thank you.
The suspect in question went into hiding in the Hibodine area due to having received death threats. He subsequently rented a holiday cottage with his girlfriend. The members allege that they received information that the suspect was in possession of at least one firearm and was instrumental in securing explosives illegally for CIT ICE from Limpopo and Gauteng. The members from the task team then proceeded to the said holiday cottage and knocked on the door and allegedly identified themselves as police officers. The suspect opened the door, after which the members proceeded inside the premises and searched the lounge and found nothing suspicious. Now here the police knocked on the door, the suspect opened. If the suspect had anything to hide, he would have not opened the door. He would have shot at the police at the same time. The keys of the suspect's vehicle was found on the table. Some task team members took the suspect's girlfriend outside to the suspect's vehicle to search. Now they should have taken the suspect outside. not the girlfriend, because the vehicle belonged to the suspect. 2 members were left to guard the suspect, and they were armed with R5 rifles and pistols. It is alleged that the suspect wanted to change, and the members accompanied him into the bedroom. The members allege that the suspect grabbed one of the SAPS members' R5 while at the same time pulling his firearm from under a pillow. The member alleged that he and the suspect lost balance. When the suspect got up, he fired his pistol in the direction of the member, missing him and his colleague. The member fired 4 rounds at the suspect, fatally wounding the suspect. The deceased sustained 4 gunshot wounds. Now, in this matter, Chair, Commissioner, you got 2 policemen who have R5 firearms pointed at you. Now, the suspect opened the door for these policemen to come in. So what is the reason for him now to try to disarm the policeman of the firearm? Even if he shot both those policemen, there were still 10 policemen outside. So he would not have achieved anything. When we did this investigation, we identified that this deceased was he was the owner of a taxi industry. He's the owner in the taxi industry. The IPID investigators requested for police case numbers in which the deceased was sought for. However, the commander of the task team failed to provide any case numbers to validate the claim that the deceased was in fact sought by the police for any offences, let alone CIT offences. According to the first police officer responding to the scene, the deceased was the one who opened the door when the police requested entry to the lodge. Members on the task team had not found any illegal firearms, explosive or any items to indicate that the deceased was in fact involved in CIT robbers. The girlfriend of the deceased is currently in hiding, as it is alleged that she was threatened by the members of the task team. The position of the deceased on the scene of crime contradicts the version of the members of the task team in relation to his attempt to draw a firearm from underneath a pillow, as he was found at the base of the bed while the pillow was at the head of the bed. The only outstanding investigation in this matter is a statement of the suspect's girlfriend, who is being sought. There is a clear indication that the version of the task team members are fabricated to cover up an unjustified shooting. As soon as a statement has been obtained from the suspect's girlfriend, the docket will be forwarded to the senior public prosecutor for a decision. IPID has yet to be presented with any evidence suggesting that the suspect was involved in CIT crimes, nor has the task team offered any explanation as to how it was informed that the suspect was in Hibodine. It seems that the task team merely used cash in transit to cover the action of killing a taxi owner. Their inability to explain how they were informed of the whereabouts of the suspect raises suspicion as to whether rival taxi owners may have been involved in tipping them off.
How do you make that jump to the suspicion about rival taxi owners? Is that the most plausible inference under the circumstances? If so, why?
Chair, the deceased went into hiding after he received threats from rival taxi owners. And where he went to, nobody knew, not even his family knew where he went to. And here the police is saying, or the task team is saying that he was involved in cash in transit or planning cash in transit, when they cannot find or provide any evidence to that effect. No case numbers. He was found in that resort or in that holiday accommodation with his private firearm, licensed private firearm. There was no illegal items found even in his vehicle when they searched his vehicle. So our belief is that because he went into hiding, because of the taxi industry, that there is a possibility that the taxi owners would have probably identified where he went to. The second aspect is that we've identified that the police are using the police grabber, cell phone grabber, and are coming to a conclusion where possible cash-in transit suspects are, especially crime intelligence. They are utilizing police grabber. So they are tracing cell phones. So if this taxi owner went into hiding, nobody would have known where he is. Not even his family knew he was there.
Or unless I missed it, you were mentioning the fact that the death threats were made by rival taxi owners. You are mentioning that for the first time in response to my question. In paragraph 45, where you mentioned death threats, you say the suspect went into hiding in the Hibodine area due to having received death threats.
Yeah, from taxi.
There you don't say from whom.
I apologize, Chair. From taxi rivals.
But as I say, I don't know whether between 45 and the end of this topic you do mention the rival taxi owners. I don't know. But in 45, that's where you mentioned the threats.
In my initial statement, Chair, I indicated that the deceased was a well-known taxi owner. I do apologize for not putting it under there. He received death threats from taxi owners in the area.
So that's the threats by rival taxi owners is the basis for your suspicion.
That's correct, Chair.
You connecting without saying so, and maybe if that's what you want to say in detail, you should speak to it. On the face of it, you are creating a connection between rival taxi owners that you say had threatened this person. You're creating a connection between those and the task team. Effectively what you're saying is the task team, in this case, according to IPID, appears to have been doing work or did the killing on behalf of the rival taxi people that threatened and caused this man to go into hiding. Is that what you're saying? And is it based on any investigation, facts, if you like, of that IPID has carried out? Because it's one thing to say this is what we suspect, and you have no control over how it gets understood to mean you have created that connection as a matter of fact. And if that's what you're doing, saying you've created a connection as a matter of fact, I think you should say so. Otherwise, if it is a theory and nothing more, I think that should come out clearly.
Okay. Commissioner, I have another case here that I will discuss where you would see that connection.
It's fine. We're still at the Hibodine one. Is there such a connection that IPID has? Because your statement doesn't do that. It requires one to read between the lines that this is what you are suggesting. In the Hibodine case, have you made that kind of connection as IPID?
The only reason that I make that connection is that the task team did not have any information pertaining to cash in transit. There was no allegation, and they have not produced any information pertaining to cash in transit. However, we know that the deceased was involved in the taxi industry. And that is why we make that connection, is that because the same task team is involved in shooting other taxi owners.
So insofar as it relates to the Hibodine matter, you're saying that is the theory
That's correct.
Of IPID.
That's correct.
And you say the basis for that theory is because you have other cases where you will show that this task team has in fact done the bidding of a rival taxi group against another.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're referring to another case in relation to the taxi industry. Is that the Pinetown case?
Pinetown case.
And that you address at page 17 of your statement. Maybe you can, can you take the Commission through the Pinetown case?
From paragraph 28, it is alleged that on the 30th of May, at about 10:30, members from a task team under the command of Captain Pedro Rodriguez shot at a vehicle, a Toyota Fortuner, to kill the driver. It is alleged that 10 members who were part of the operation stopped the vehicle on the M13, highway eastbound to Westville. 14 rounds were shot from the rifle at the said vehicle. Fortunately for the driver of the vehicle was an armor-proof vehicle. During the incident, the driver telephonically contacted the Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Mkonazi, who informed him to drive off to the Pavilion shopping mall situated in Westville. The driver adhered to the instruction of the Provincial Commissioner, and he drove to the Pavilion shopping center where he met senior officers from Westville SAPS. The 10 members on the task team followed the driver. However, when they reached the Pavilion shopping center, they were greeted by the Pavilion security and senior police officers from Westville SAPS. Investigations have thus far revealed that there was a shooting of a taxi chairperson by the name of Reginald Boy Dladla in Hillcrest, and there was evidence that 2 suspects were identified for the murder. Captain Rodriguez was tasked with apprehending the suspects. The first suspect was allegedly killed when Colonel Kalashwayo's team tried to arrest him. This murder case is investigated by IPID under Hillcrest Case 121/05/2024. The circumstances are...
Sorry, before you get to the circumstances, can you please look at paragraph 33, the case number there? Is it the same one? There, it's all the numbers except for the 05 and the 03 are the same. I'm just checking if perhaps you've not, if it's the same case, I'm checking if you've not made a mistake.
Chair,
on the 05 or the 03, or are they different cases?
Thank you, Chair. It's a typographical error. It's 05.
05.
05.
So at 33 we must change it to 05.
05.
Okay, thank you. Please continue then. The circumstances are as follows.
The circumstances are as follows. The suspect was initially arrested while he was preparing to depart for Gauteng. That is the first suspect that was identified by Colonel Kalashwayo. So they arrested him at the KZN airport on a murder case, which was Pinetown Case 457/08/2022, in which a taxi boss was killed. That taxi boss, I've indicated his name, Reginald Boy in Gladla. It is alleged that the police questioned the suspect about the firearm that was used in the Pinetown murder, and he then took them to his friend's residence in Hillcrest.
And what do you mean? Which airport is this? You said KZN airport.
Yes. That's the King Shaka Airport, Chair. Commissioner, King Shaka Airport.
All right, thank you.
It is alleged that the police questioned the suspect about the firearm that was used in the Pinetown murder, and he took them to his friend's residence in Hillcrest. Whilst at the said premises, the suspect requested to use a toilet. At the relevant time, he was allegedly accompanied by 2 police officers. The police alleged that the suspect reached for a firearm that was hidden underneath the sink in the toilet. One police officer then wrestled the suspect for the firearm, during which a round went off, at which point the second police officer shot the deceased. It is alleged that the deceased in Hillcrest Cas 121/05/2024, who was a well-known established businessman in the taxi industry, had borrowed the Toyota Fortuner from Mr. Ngobo. The complainant in Pinetown Cas 678/5/2025.
Sorry, the case numbers can get confusing. So the complainant in Pinetown Cas 678 is the complainant that was shot at by the task team under the control of Captain Rodriguez.
That's correct. That's correct.
Sorry, I've picked up something similar about the case numbers. Here you have 678, that is here 33. 35, you have 673. And again, the rest is the same. Are these different cases, or again, is it one case with a typo?
No, it's one case, Chair.
So which one do we change?
Chair, it's 678. The heading
The correct one is
678.
So at 33, then we change the 673 to 678.
678, that's correct. My apologies for that, Chair.
No problem.
Another observation, in the heading, you have 678/05/2024, and then at 33, you have 678/05/2025. Is that a typo? It should be 2024.
2024.
Please continue.
Okay. So the first suspect for the murder of the taxi chairperson was shot when he was picked up from the airport and taken to his friend's house, where the police alleged that he tried to take a firearm that was hidden under the sink. The second suspect in that matter borrowed the Toyota Fortuner of the complainant in Pinetown 678/5/2024. The suspect was using the Toyota Fortuner, and Captain Rodriguez obtained information, and he'd seen the suspect driving the Toyota Fortuner. And he allegedly tried on numerous occasions to apprehend the second suspect, who was said to have been driving the Toyota Fortuner, to no avail. In the meantime, the vehicle was returned to Mr. Ngobo. So the second suspect was not using that vehicle anymore. And Captain Rodriguez was now focusing on the Toyota Fortuner. So he requested an employee at the estate where the victim resided to inform him when the vehicle was driving out of the said estate. On the 30th of May 2024, Mr. Ngobo left his estate in his Fortuner vehicle, and Captain Rodriguez was informed that the Fortuner was leaving the estate. He and his team followed the vehicle, cornered it, and brought it to an halt alongside the M13. Mr. Ngobo noticed that one vehicle had 4 occupants who were wearing balaclavas. When the Fortuner stopped on the left-hand side of the road, Mr. Ngobo saw another 3 vehicles behind him. Mr. Ngobo immediately contacted the SAPS Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Mkonazi. Whilst he was on the call, the police started to open fire on his vehicle. He was advised by the Provincial Commissioner to drive to Pavilion Shopping Centre. At the shopping centre, some senior SAPS officer came and questioned Mr. Ngobo while his vehicle was inspected, and photographed by members of LCRC. Due to the extensive damage to his vehicle, it was towed to Pinetown Police Station. Mr. Ngobo's private firearm was also seized by the duty officer. Whilst the members from the LCRC were busy processing the secondary scene, the members from Captain Rodriguez's task team arrived at the Pavilion Shopping Centre, and they were summoned to Provincial Commissioner's office by Major General Gobosi. The members from the task team left the scene at Pavilion Shopping Centre without being duly processed as the members implicated in discharging of official firearm in an attempted murder case. They did not provide any explanation or justification for the shooting, nor did they provide firearm numbers or the number of rounds fired at the vehicle to the duty officer in their attendance at the secondary crime scene. Primary residue test samples could not be uplifted as the officers had left the scene prior to LCRC obtaining the samples as is procedurally required. This all took place under the instructions received from Major General Ngobosi. During IPID's investigation, it was established that Captain Rodriguez and another member's vehicle had false registration plates affixed to the SAPS vehicle that were used for the said operation. The SAPS vehicle used with unmarked vehicles used were unmarked vehicles with no official SAPS insignia or markings to show that they were official SAPS vehicles. IPID KZN proceeded with the investigation, and after discussion with the control prosecutor, arrested 9 of the 10 members of the task team, and they appeared in Pinetown Court on the 11th of July 2024, and Captain Rodriguez was subsequently arrested on the 31st of July 2024 and appeared in Pinetown Court. IPID made recommendations to the SAPS that disciplinary steps may be instituted against all 10 members. The disciplinary hearing has commenced. The criminal matter has since been postponed from the Pinetown Court to Durban Regional Court to the 20th of August 2026.
Can I just clarify one issue? False registration plates. Has any explanation been given for false registration plates?
Well, the members, when they were charged, they elected to remain silent. They could not provide an explanation regarding the false number plates. But we've identified that the reason the false number plates are used so they cannot be identified when shootings take place, or if they have to leave crime scenes prior to anyone coming to the crime scene. They are not identifiable.
But presumably the members involved in these shootings always, I mean, you are able to identify 3 task teams led by Captain Rodriguez. Is it Captain Govender?
He is now promoted to Lieutenant Colonel Govender.
And Colonel Kalitshwayo.
Kalitshwayo, yes.
So I still don't see the point of false number plates. I mean, in that context, you know who the task team leaders are. What is false number plates going to do?
Well, there was no explanation provided for the false number plates, but one would believe in order to not to be recognized, because they don't use police uniform in most of the cases, these task teams don't use police uniforms. And if there is anything that happened contrary to the prescripts of the Criminal Procedure Act, then they can easily leave the scene without being identified.
Chair, we've run past 11. I'm not sure if this is a convenient time to break.
Yeah, just one quick question. I just want to understand your narration of this incident, the Pinetown incident. Are you doing so with a view to advancing the idea that the task teams, or some of them, are infiltrated by criminal gangs? If so, how?
Chair, I would believe that they are being used by other taxi rival gangs. Because in this case here, the chairperson of the taxi industry in the Pinetown area was killed. And the police went all out looking for the other two. And when they found the first one, they found him at the airport. And he willingly took them to his friend's house. On that investigation where he was shot, the version of the police doesn't make sense. Because if you look at the bathroom where he was shot, there is nothing where you can put a firearm, either firearm under the zinc. There's no built-in cupboards there that you can put a firearm under the zinc. So the version is totally contradictory to the crime scene. And then they went all out for the second suspect. And when they went for the second suspect, you could see that they deliberately wanted to kill him, not realizing that the vehicle was a armor-plated vehicle. So that is why I believe that they were ordered by someone to take out these two suspects for murdering the chairperson of the taxi industry.
Thank you. Let's resume at 22:12. Let's adjourn.